So good morning to all of you. Am I audible? Okay. Thanks for responses here. So why strength is so low today? I think
Sir, morning effect.
it's a morning effect is. Huh? So how much time it will take to compensate this morning effect?
That differs by person.
Okay. Fine. Just wait for 1 or 2 minutes for morning effect here. Then we will continue. So we hope few more will join in next 2 minutes. Okay, so now I think number is substantial here for us to move on. So let us continue. Yes. So in previous few class discussion here, here we discuss about the probability aspects here, and after that we have moved to the random variables, and then we explored some mathematical aspects related to the random variables here in view of some system level analysis here. So that once we need to explore some system level understanding here, we should have the proper tool with us as well as the proper understanding with us here, and what parameters we are going to estimate here, and what those parameters convey the meaning here in real sense here. So based on the previous understanding here in the last class, we explored very foundation aspects here related to the multiple random variables here, where we move on here. But before continuing further here, here in this session, we are going to discuss few of the problem here, and then we will move on here. We come to the previous topic of discussion here. So this is the one example here where you get to see the role of a die and its associated probability mass function is represented here. So corresponding to this probability mass function, you could observe here corresponding to the different outcomes of a die. So when you are going to roll a die here, so outcome could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. and all the events are equally likely here when we are going to perform it here. So each one has the probability as a 1 by 6 in here. So to represent its probability mass functions here. So x we have defined as a random variables, x is equal to 1 2 3 4 5 6 here, and corresponding its distribution functions we have also defined here. Px here, px is equal to 1, x equal to 2 3 4 5 and 6 here, and corresponding their probabilities we have just mapped it here with their associated values here. Now we are moving ahead. Now based on that, we have defined this cumulative distribution function CDF here. Simultaneously, we have mapped with the values here as we are moving for x is equal to 1, 2 here. So previous cumulative values are going to add it here. For example, if we say what is the probability for px is less than or equal to 2 here. So it means less than equal to 2 here, so it could be 2, it could be 1 here. So both outcomes will be sum of here. Okay. Simultaneously, if we say x is less than or equal to 3 here, then it means it could be x is equal to 1, x is equal to 2, and x is equal to 3 here. So all their associated probability 1 by 6, 1 by 6, 1 by 6 here. So 3 by 6, it will be 1 by 2 here. So if we sum up this one here, so cumulative distribution functions, I could write it here like this form here. Just graphical representation was in previous slide as a tabular representation. That's it. Now the question is, what is the probability that you roll a 3 or less here? What will be the answer? So these are the questions for you here. So meanwhile, we'll go here in the discussion mode here, as well as you need to answer for the questions here. You need to parallelly solve it here. I got one response, 1 by 3, 1 by, okay. So I think there was one mistake in it. It is already corrected here. So it's 1 by 3, 1 by 2 here. Good. Here. So why we are saying 1 by 2 here? Because if we calculate what is the probability that you roll a 3 or less here. So we have included the 3 also here in the discussion. So it will be x is equal to 3, x is equal to 2, and x is equal to 1 here, because this is a discrete probability here. So these outcomes will be part of the discussion here. So each outcome has the probability 1 by 6 here. So x is equal to 1, 1 by 6, x is equal to 2, 1 by 6, x is equal to 3, 1 by 6 here. So total probabilities is going to be 3 by 6 here. Good. What is the probability that you roll a die here? Okay. You roll a 5 or higher. What will the probabilities? One by 3. Good. Good. Okay. So if you roll a 5 or higher here, okay. So if it is 5 or higher here, means x is equal to 5, greater than 5 here, or x is greater than 6 here. So all those comes here. So 1 by 6, 1 by 6 will be 2 by 6 here. So you can say 1 by 3 here. Okay. But simultaneously, if I ask here, here, or the problem could be visualized in another way here. If I am saying, so what is the probability that you roll a die for 5 or higher here? So means 5 or higher will be one event, and less than 5 will be another event. It will be working just like a complement here. So if we use that complement properties here, so I could say, very good, Tushar, you have presented it exactly here. As we are trying to discuss here, so what is the probability that you roll a 5 or higher? X is greater than 5 is equal to 1 minus probability of x is less than or equal to 4 here. So x is less than or equal to 4 will be 4 by 6 here. Here it will, or 2 by 3. So if you subtract it, it will be 1 by 3 here. So either way, we are going to come for the same conclusion here. Now there are some questions in front of you. Which of the following are probability functions here? Okay. First solve the A part here. Solve the A and let me know the answer. It will be probability function, yes or no? No, no, no. Why no? Can anyone explain? So Pallavi Sahu says yes, Rachit, Tushar, yes. Yes, that will be a probability functions here. Because once we define the probability functions, what we have decided, there was two rules mainly we formulated, that the value of probability should be between 0 to 1. Okay, that's the first rule. Second, the summation of their all probabilities should be unity here. Okay, so these two rules you need to verify. For x is equal to 9 it is 0.25, x is equal to 10 it is 2.25, x is equal to 11 it is 0.25, and x is equal to 12 it is 0.25 here. Okay, so this will be the chart here. Okay, so if you sum up the total probability, it is coming as a unity here. So our rules satisfied. Both the rules are satisfied. All the probability is between 0 to 1, positive quantity here, and the summation is also leading to the unity here. So it is going to be called as a, yes, probability functions here. What about the second one? Fx is equal to 3 minus x by 2 for x is equal to 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, very good, very good, very good responses here. So probabilities we are getting here is a negative. Okay, good. So in case of B functions here, if you see here, this one, okay. So this function you can see here, if you calculate the probabilities for 1, 2, and 3, it is coming between 0 to 1 is fine. But fourth probability is negative, so it's not here. Along with that, if you check from the summation perspective here, so overall summation is coming unity, so that's a confusing point here. Okay, but the fourth random variables associated probability is negative, so we would say this function is not in probability functions. What about this one? Okay, yes, Dipanshu said correct. So once we are checking the probability functions here, there's two aspects. Summation should be need to be unity, as well as their associated probability value should be always in the range of 0 to 1 here. So if we check their associated probabilities corresponding to each outcome here, x is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, here random variables. So we could observe all the values are coming in the range of 0 to 1 here. But if we check it here from the summation perspective here, So this summation is coming as a 24 by 25 here. This is not a unity here. So that's why this summation, as the summation was unity here, so we could claim it that this function is not in probability functions here. Okay, good. Now there's another problems here. The number of ships arrive at a harbor on any given day is random variables represented by x here. Okay, the probability distribution for x is given. For x is equal to 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. It's already been given here. Okay, and their associated probability is also given. So now the first question is, there. Find the probability that on a given day exactly 14 ships arrive. What will be the probability? Okay, good. I think people are responding very well. Okay, so if you see how it's coming, exactly 14, x is equal to 10 here. This is working as a random variable here, and this also represents the number of ships which are arriving here. Okay, so we can observe here corresponding x equal to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This represents the number of ships arrival on a harbor here, and this is the associated probability. Px is represented here in the tabular form here. Okay, so what is the probability that exactly 14 ships? We are saying exactly 14 here. So means this one is going to be our discussion here. When you say this exactly 14 means this part here. So it will be equal to the 0.1 here. When you say the second part, at least 12 ships arrive here. Okay. So when you say that at least 12 ships here, so means this number could be 12, 13, 14 or even higher here. So it will include the rest of the probabilities here. So means at least 12. If it is coming 11, then this condition is not satisfied here. So for at least 12 here, x is equal to 12, 0.2 for 12 here, for 0.1 for 13 and 0.1 for the 14 here. So x is greater than 12 means x is equal to 12, x is equal to 13, x is equal to 14 here. So this summation will be as a 0.4 here. At most 11 ships arrive here. Now they have changed the phrase here. At most 11 ships arrive. It means here it could be 11 or it could be 10 also here. So both are the acceptable conditions in this case here. X is equal to 11 means if corresponding x is equal to 10, it's 0.4. X is equal to 11, probability is 0.2 here, so total will be 0.6 here. So this way we could formulate it here. Okay. Any doubt up to this point here? But still I could observe here there are two similar names are just popping up here in the responses here. These are the people here who are responding to every questions here. Why the others are not participating? You all need to participants, na? So this discussion is for all of you. Now the next question is, you are lecturing to a group of 1,000 students here. You ask them to each randomly pick an integer between 1 and 10, assuming their picks are truly random here. Assuming their picks are truly random here. Now the first question is, what is your best case for how many students pick the number 9 here? The answer is Bhavya, Alok, and Dipanshu. I think Dipanshu, Pratik, you responded 1,000. I think it's a mistake, or 1,000. Okay, F6, Sitish, Anand, Aditya, Sankalp. Okay, Harshita, Aditya. Okay, so many people have responded here. So if you pick the words here, assuming their picks are truly random here. So when you say it's truly random, means that picking a number is totally independent in its nature, first place, and second, each number picking are equally likely events here. So it could be picked by any of the students here. Okay. So as I'm so out of the 1 to 10 here, means out of the 10 numbers, any numbers could be picked here. So each number's probabilities here is 1 by 10. Out of the 1 to 10, if I need to pick any number here, so each one is equally likely here. So each number's picking probability will be 1 by 10 here. Okay. So as the total number is 1,000 here, so 1 by 10 strength will lead to the 100 students here. So that's why many of you responded very nicely here as a 100 here. What about this one? What percentage of the students would you expect picked a number less than or equal to 6? So you need to prefer the words here. What percentage of the students? It is asked here. It is not asked about how many number of students here. Previous question it was how many students here. So you have to calculate and give me the number of students here. Now it is asking in the problem statement about the percentage of the students here. Here. So when you're responding, be precise. Okay. So what percentage student would you expect? Pick a number less than or equal to 6 here. So many of you have responded again correctly. So if you're saying less than or equal, the moment say less than or equal here, so we have included the 6 also here. Means we are talking about the all the probabilities associated with x is equal to 1, x is equal to 2, x is equal to 3, x is equal to 4, x is equal to 5, and x is equal to 6. As each one is having the equal probability here. So 1 by 10 into 6 means 6 by 10 here. What is the percentage? 6 by 10 into 100. So it will be coming as a 60% here. Or you can say 0.6% here or the 60. Their probability is 0.6. So their associated percentage number is 60% here. Now come to the next question here. Suppose that survival drops off rapidly in the year following diagnosis of a certain type of advanced cancer here. Suppose that the length of survival or time to death is a random variable that approximately follows an exponential distribution with parameters to makes it as a steeper drop off here. So its probability functions is given here. Okay. Probability x is equal to t is equal to 2 e power minus 2t here. And this is another hint is also given here corresponding to this function here. Now the question is, what is the probability here? Okay, that a person who is diagnosed with this illness survives a year. What is the answer? Mm-hmm. 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 No, you're slightly confusing with the wording here. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Just go through the words again. Okay, let's go to the answer. So as we are looking very explicitly here, the probability of dying within first year can be calculated using the cumulative distribution function, and some hint is already given in the problem statement itself here. So probability is Vx is less than or equal to t here. Okay, so this could be given here. I could write only if I agree, yes or no. Yes, this cumulative distribution function for t could be given as like this here. So as the probability of dying within a year here. So you can frame the question in a slightly different manner here. Okay, and this could be here. This could in a complement events here. So less than one would be one here, and the other could be another terms here. Okay, so cumulative distribution function is known in this form here. Okay, the chance of surviving past 1 year here. So what was the question's last line here? What is the probability that a person who is diagnosed with this illness survives a year here? Okay. Hmm. So if you present it in the complement manner here, so probability of x is greater than 1 will be equal to the 1 minus p x less than equal to 1 here. So corresponding to the probability x is less than 1 equal this frame here, you could map it directly this form here. So for this form, it's already given 1 minus e power minus 2t. So t is 1. So just substitute the values here and we will get the point 135 here. So that's why I'm reiterating here. So you need to go through the lines carefully, because in between the lines, what is written here, how they are communicating the message, you have to pick that message here. Okay. Otherwise, there was nothing specific in this problem statement here. It was just the wording here. How smartly they have framed it here. Okay. This problem is clear? Okay. Come to the next problem here. If a disease is fairly rare and the antibody test is fairly expensive in a resource poor region, one strategy is to take half of the serum from each sample and pull it with another half samples and test the pooled lot here. If the pooled lot is negative, this saves and minus one test here. If it is positive, then you go back and test each sample individually here, requiring n plus 1 test total here. Okay. Now, based on that, the question is, suppose a particular disease has a prevalence of 10% in a third world population and you have 500 blood samples to screen. If you pool 20 samples at a time, here out of 500, if you pool 20 samples at a time is 25 lots here. How many tests do you expect to have to run assuming the test is perfect? What if you pool only 10 samples at a time? Otherwise, second C question, 5 samples at a time here. Any response? No, answer is wrong. No. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay, let us see the answer here. So, however, as per the problem statement here, particular disease has a prevalence of 10% in the third world population, and you have 500 blood samples to screen here. Okay, so if you to pool 20 samples at a time, 25 lots, how many tests do you expect to have to run here? 20 samples at a time, so 25 lots here. We are defining random x a random variable, that is the number of tests you have to run per lot here. X is equal to random variable, that is the number of tests you have to run per lot here. So per lot there are 20 samples. So as per the problem statements here, even if the lot here, if it is coming as a positive here, then I need to go for n plus 1 here, because I need to identify out of the 20 which one is diagnosis with a positive symptom. If it is negative, means out of the 20 no one has the symptoms here. So this is coming in the form of binary representation here. So x is equal to p put lot is negative, so means one test, plus p put lot is positive. So in that case, in case of negative, one test is enough. So 20 minus 1 means 19 tests we have saved here. P put lot is positive, means one is confirmation for the positive here. Then out of the 20 I need to perform each test again here. Okay, so that which one is positive one here. So as per the problem statement, it is given here. We need to go in this fashion. Otherwise, out of the 20, we could again sample it in the 10 here. We could distribute the number of testers here. But as per the problem statement is given, this is two ways. So we have the liberty to prepare lots here. Out of the every lots, if it is negative, then only one test. If it is positive, then n plus one test here. If you calculate it here, Ex probability is 0.9 here. So this number is coming from here. Suppose a particular disease has a prevalence of 10% here. Means the probability here that a person is infected here is a 0.1, and the probability that a person is not infected here, it's 0.9 here. So from here you take this number here. So based on these conditions here and these two, we have framed it 0.9 20 into 1 and 1 minus 0.9 into 21 here. Okay, because this is the probability corresponding to the positive and negatives here. So if here corresponding to each lot, this will be the probabilities here. Okay. Okay. Did you get this step from here to here? How we are coming? This is important steps here. Okay, let me explain again here. So we have defined corresponding to each lot here. X is a random variable, that is the number of tests you have to run per lot here. So there is a 20 samples. I have mixed it here in a one lot here. Now I'm performing a test. Even here, as I mix the 20 here, if the result is coming negative, means all the 20% are clear here. Then I need to perform any other test here. So within a one test, I have cleared 20% here. Suppose that out of 20 mixed lot here, if the result is here, okay, so out of the 20, if anyone is coming as a positive here, out of the 20 lot mixed here, if anyone is coming as positive here, means I need to perform again the 20 tests individual here. So mean the total number of tests will be 1 plus 20. That's a 21 here. That's why it is coming as a 21 here. So 21 tests you are performing here. So problem statement again. How many tests do you expect to have to run assuming the test is perfect here? Okay. So this is related to the number of tests here. So we are performing. Okay. So if the pooled lot is positive, means as each positive has the probability from here 0.1 and the negative probability is 0.9 here. So negative corresponding to one lot could be found from the 1 here, and the positive could be identified from the 21 here. Okay, that's why it is coming in the number 0.9 20 into 1 minus 0.9 20 into 21 here. So if you solve it here, you will get 18.56 here. So this is corresponding to the per lot here. This is average number here. So total number of tests which you need to perform here corresponding to the 25 lots here, 25 into 18.56, it will be the coming as a 464. Okay. So this is the response corresponding to the first answer here. So corresponding to the second question, if you remember, what if you pool only 10 samples at a time here? So 10 samples means there will be slightly change here. Okay. So corresponding to the 10 samples, what will be our strategy? It's like that. If out of the 10 here, I could identify within a one sample here that the person is positive or negative here. If the result is negative, then all the 10 are cleared. If it is coming as a positive here, means then I have to perform 10 plus 1 means 11 tests I need to perform here. Okay, so 0.9 into 10 here and 1 minus 0.9 into 10 into 11 here. So segregate it here, it will be coming 7.5 average per lot here. Now I have moved the sample size 10 here, so we need to consider 500 here. Okay, so the total will be 50 lots into 7.5, so 375 tests here. So compared to the previous case here, previous when we are making a lot of 20, yeah, then to diagnosis all the persons who are having the disease here, I need to perform the 464 tests here out of the 500. When I decreases the lot size here, this number drops to the 375 here, and this will further drop here 5 samples at a time. When you perform here, then it is coming as a 305 here. In case of 5 samples, if it is 1 I could clear, if it is positive, then I need to perform 5 plus 1 6 tests here. So proportionately we could calculate the EX number here, and then corresponding to the 100 lots here, I could calculate how many tests I need to perform here. Okay, so I hope this problem is clear to all of you. Now the next question is, if x is a random integer between 1 and 10, what is the expected value of x here? Okay, yes, so all of you are responding very correctly here. So as we are considering the integer values 1 and 10 here, so each one is having the probability as a 1 by 10 here. Okay, so if we now calculate what is the expected values, expected values mu is ex here, and ex how we calculate x into px here. So corresponding each one I need to simply multiply it here. Okay, so value of I will be ranging from 1 to 10 here, and in each case the probability is 1 by 10 here, so it will be coming as a 1 plus 2 plus 3 summation to the 10 here, so this summation will be coming 55 into 0.1 multiplication will lead to the 5.51. Correct. Now the next question. The roulette wheel has the number 1 through 36 as well as 0 and double zeros. If you bet $1 that an odd number comes up, you win or lose $1 accordingly to whether or not that event occurs here. If x denotes your net gain here, x is equal to 1 with probabilities 18 by 38, and x is equal to -1 with probability 20 by 38 here. So we already calculated the mean for this one. This information is given here. The question is, what is the variance of x? So the mean value is already given to you here. What's the variance of x here? So for the variance here, we need to go for sigma square. Sigma square values xi minus mu into pxi here. So the mu value is already given to us here. So I need to simply substitute the values here. Corresponding +1 and -1, two cases here. I need to substitute the values and calculate it here. So sigma square is known to us here. Once it is known, I could go for the standard deviations too here. So it is the under root values here. Okay. So if it is coming sigma is equal to 0.9, and here, see here. So on average, you are either a $1 above or $1 below the mean, which is just under 0 here. Makes sense here. Okay, now go to the next problem. This is the problem which we have discussed in the starting of the class here. So corresponding to this problem, we need to calculate the variance in the standard deviation. So to calculate the variance in standard deviation, you need to calculate the mean first, EX values here. And how you calculate the EX? That is the summation of X into PX here. X is given, PX is given. What would be the value of mean? Good. Mean is coming 3.5. Okay. So correct. Now go for the variance and the standard deviation. Variance will be so I think Aman has given the correct answer here. 2.92 and 1.7 here. So how we can come to this conclusion? Says we are interested for the standard deviation as well as the variance here. So for that we require the function Ex square here. So first we will calculate Ex square function here. So Ex square value is coming as a 15.17 here. Now you use this properties values here because X is known and Px is known here. So very easily we could calculate the Ex square here. This will be just the summation of X square into Px. So now we substitute the values one by one here, and once we calculate this function here, it will give the values 15.17 here. So now we have the value of Ex as well as the Ex square here. Now I need to simply substitute it in the formulas to get the variance here. So sigma x square will be Ex square minus E mean square here, or that is Ex square here. So 15.17 minus 3.5 square here. So it will come as a 2.92. So as it is 2.92 as a variance here, so for the standard deviation, I need to take the under root of this function value. So sigma x will be under root of 2.92. So after solving this one, we will get 1.71 here. So if few of you have responded here for this questions here, but I was expecting few more responses from your side. Okay, few others are also responding. Good. Let us see here. So for the variance here, if you see, if C is a constant number, not a variable here, then we can say and x and y are random variables here. Okay. Then variance of C is equal to 0. If it is a constant number, then its variance will be 0. The corresponding variance of C plus x here, where C is constant here, will be equal to the variance of x only here, because the variance of C is already 0. Variance of C into x is equal to the, as for the variance we are going with the square here, so it will be C square. We will take it out here and it will be into variance of x here. So variance of x plus y is equal to variance of x plus variance of y only if x and y are independent here. So if you remember, when we discuss about the independent events here, we have discussed this aspects here. Here in the very initial classes here, when we defined the probabilities, prior to that we had classified the different kinds of events here. At that time we have discussed the independent events here. Otherwise, in general here, variance of x plus y is equal to variance of x plus variance of y plus 2 covariance x and y if x and y are not independent here. This is the general formulas here. Okay. Now this is the questions here. Find the variance and standard deviation for the number of ships to arrive at the harbor. Recall previous questions here. So this problem we have dealt in our earlier discussion here. So x is given, px is given here. Mean is already we calculated from x into px here. Okay, 1.3. So how could we calculate the variance and the standard deviation? Here we need to go for the x square px. So we'll go for x square px here. So ex square we calculate, it was coming 129.5 here. So for the variance, ex square minus ex square here. So ex square value is 129.5. Mean value or ex value is 11.3 here. So just substitute the values here, you will get 1.81 here. So if we go for under root of this values here, you will get this one as a 1.35. Problem is you toss a coin 100 times. What is the expected number of heads and what is the variance of the number of heads here? Can you calculate? I think this is the last problem here we are going to tackle in today's session. You people have responded very well here in this session. I hope the similar response. Okay. So now the answer is coming as a correct here. Okay. So any volunteer from among you who can explain this problem here?
So this can be done with the help of binomial distribution if you want. And we have already defined the mean for binomial distribution is equal to NP, where P is the probability of getting our likely event. So so expected number of heads could be calculated through that. And for variance, we also define variance is equal to NPQ.
Correct.
So N is 100, P is 1/2, and Q is also 1/2, so we'll get 25.
Very good, very good. Because this is something you have to pick it here, because if you see the problem statement here, so in this problem statement you will get only two outcomes here. Okay, so one outcome corresponding to tossing coin will be head or the another will be tail here. So if you remember the binomial distributions here where we have defined the events here this one is will called as a success, another will called as a failure here. Okay, so same way we could map this problem here with the binomial distributions here. Once you map the binomial distribution, your life is easy. Okay, so what is asked here, it is just a few seconds. It will take you to solve the questions here. Okay, there was nothing tricky about it here. Otherwise, if you forget the basic of those formulas here, even though you can move ahead with your basic understanding here. So corresponding to that, you could define the functions values here, define the random variables. Once we define the random variables here, you could calculate the mean values here. Once you calculate the mean values corresponding to the events, fine. Then you need to go for the variance functions here. Okay. So go for the variance, find out it here, then again take the under root of that values here. Here it will give the standard deviation values here. Or if you remember the formula, so just simply put it like this here. It will be NPQ. That's it. N is 100, P and Q both are 1/2. 100 into 1/4, 25. So either you can perform with the basic understanding of operation here, you can apply, you can get the answer here. Or if you remember those distributions here which provide the answer is the straightforward here, so you can apply those formulas at the first place here to minimize the effort from your side here. Otherwise, this is also perfectly acceptable here. Okay. So the question is, what is the covariance here? So we are not going to discuss the covariance here. The covariance, if you talk here, so this is something out of the syllabus of this course here. Covariance, autocorrelation, cross correlation. So these things we will discuss here in the upcoming semester when we discuss the course random process here. So all this stuff is present there here. Okay. So this variance is something which is just second order moments here, which is why we include it here. Okay, just to have some thought processing here. Later on this we'll top of it we'll build a lot of things here. We define the moments also here, so moment function, their characteristic function, then these kinds of variances also here. So a lot of stuff is also there here in the future for you. So any doubt regarding the today's session here? No, that's a very wrong assumptions. Himanshu asks, mean we will be only dealing with the independent events in this semester? No. So you have to deal with independent as well as dependent here, but as with the problem statement, you have to pick it. So we are talking about the dependent or the independent here. Any other question? No. I think there's no question from your side here. Okay, so thank you very much for your response. Any other time. Thank you.